Polipede works here. So we know the Blackbeard pirates are currently hunting for devilfruits in the narrative of the main story as of late. The member of the Blackbeard pirates that I would like to talk about today is DocQ, and the two devilfruits that I think he's most likely to get based off of certain doctor related things that we've been exposed to in the narrative so far. Let's get started. So the two doctor storylines I want to focus on right now in accordance to DocQ are Trafalgar D. Waterlaw's storyline and Tony Chopper's storyline. Let's tackle Law's storyline first. Law, as a child, was afflicted with a condition called amber lead poisoning. Amber lead poisoning is contracted by the mineral known as amber lead, that is a white ore that is native to his island, right? Okay, how could we make this a devilfruit? Well, based on the devilfruit users we have in the story now, there are no devilfruit users who take advantage of being made of ore or being made of minerals. So let's say DocQ gets a logia fruit that allows him to become any mineral or ore that he wants. So let's say if you look at the periodic table, right, of elements, let's say anything that isn't thought of as being gaseous or liquid, he can become. So all your metals, basically. I say this in reference to Caesar, who has the gas fruit, which pretty much allows him to become all the known gases on the periodic table, plus a few combinations of said gases that he can just make up to serve any sort of story point Oda wants him to serve, right? So far he's become, off the top of my head, helium, oxygen, and I want to say he's become hydrogen at some point. Can't recall. But the point is that he can become different types of gases. But in terms of sort of another solid logia, we don't really have that. We have sand, we have mud, we have a diamond guy in Jozu who is a paramecia, and then we have the non-canon guild Tesaro from Film Gold who could manipulate gold. So the idea would be that he could become any ore that he desires, and with him being a doctor, I'm going to step on a limb and assume he's rather well read, so he would most likely know about amber lead poisoning and could possibly give Chomper amber lead poisoning during their fight, or someone else amber lead poisoning during their fight. Also, since he wields a scythe, he could probably transmute his scythe, because if he is someone who can control ore or iron or just any sort of solid mineral, I could see him taking his scythe, which is most likely made of steel, and transmuting it into any sort of metal he desired, or a combination of metals. So he could probably maybe turn it into wapple metal, he could turn it into amber lead, he could turn it into anything really, anything that he wanted, as long as it was a solid mineral. With that being said, this would make him extraordinarily difficult to defeat, but not impossible. Now, the second option based off of a doctor storyline that I would like to go through is Chomper. The reason for the Straw Hats going to Drum Island in the first place is because Nami contracted the 5-day disease via being bitten by the Kestia bug on Little Garden. The Kestia bug is a kind of tick that inhabits tropical climates and inflicts all sorts of diseases via the blood that it has drawn from various animals, right? So what if DocQ got a zoan that allowed him to become a Kestia bug? Do we have any sort of reference or reason, or perhaps I should say, do we have any visual cue? Visual cue. Do we have any visual cues that will lead us to believe that he could possibly have a zoan, or if there is a reason for him having a zoan? Well, there's a few. First off, just from visual representation, he's always seen coughing up blood. Blood comes from his mouth, so he's kind of got a relation to blood. So instead of blood being coughed up from his mouth, he would be drinking blood instead. Perhaps he would be sampling blood from all different types of animals and just letting the diseases fester within his body, sort of storing them up so he could use them for combat. And then he would then turn into a tick and bite people, creating perhaps a super version of the 5-day disease. Perhaps that would just make someone die instantly after a bite. Also, an important thing to note about zoan fruits is that they give you enhanced superhuman abilities upon eating them. So, with DocQ always being portrayed as sickly and weak, a zoan fruit would most likely help him greatly, as now he could stand up and walk around and do things and be fairly agile with the super strength that this bug fruit would have gave him. And in terms of the classification, ticks are arachnids, so I don't know if this would be classified as a bug fruit or a spider fruit like Black Maria and most likely Onigumo. So another thing to think about with this castia fruit, this tick fruit, what if he could just spit on his scythe and then poison it with this diseased blood, making it so that he doesn't really even have to bite someone to inflict this blood disease damage. It would just be sort of magically transferred to his blade by the blade being coated in the diseased blood that he's now been storing up in his body. It will play on the doctor theme because you know how you need to have blood drawn sometimes in blood drives and such? He would just have these collections of diseased blood that he would have been drinking for who knows how long, and then would have bred all these sort of different cocktails of blood within his body to then create these deadly poisons that he could emit by just biting someone. And that's such a very small thing, but I think it's really ripe for narrative ingenuity because it kind of goes back to the reason why the Drum Island arc happened with Chomper. And then it would free him up from being dependent on Stronger as much, which then allows Stronger to be his own character. If you want to find out more about that, I did make a video about what I think Stronger will become in the future. But with that being said, thank you for watching. Catch you next time. If you like stuff like this, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel, Polipede Works. And if you like what you see, I would appreciate your subscription. Thank you so much. See you next time.